In an unambiguous vote, the French people have demonstrated their desire to turn the page after 7 years of contemptuous and corrosive power. We warmly thank the voters and welcome this result. This first step towards choosing an alternative is a mark of confidence which honors and obliges us.
Tonight, I call on every French person attached to their freedom to the remedying of France to join me and amplify the dynamic and make the national union win against those who want to divide us, damage the public order and flout our values.
OK, let's bring in Bloomberg's Caroline Connan in Paris, who, of course, has been following all of this for us. Caroline, a big weekend for the voters of France, of course. What were the key takeaways from this first-round vote for you?
The far right clearly came on top with 33% of the votes in this first round, but that was actually slightly below than our latest poll of polls that was published on Friday. In second position, you had the New Popular Front, this union of the left, which includes the far left with 28%, and Macron came third with 21%, which was actually slightly better than expected. Now, a lot will depend on those so-called triangles, where you have three candidates facing each other in the second round next Sunday. In fact, there are triangles in more than half of the constituencies, more than 250 constituencies. There were only 8 of them last time back in 2022. So a lot will depend on whether those candidates who came third will actually remain or withdraw from the second round. And in fact, the far left of Mélenchon and Raphael Glucksmann from the Socialist Party both called for those who came third to withdraw in order to block the national rally. We had a few polls showing that Marine Le Pen could get an absolute majority, but it's not as clear as it could have been before this first round. It is also possible that she will fall shy of a majority.
Caroline, we know, of course, there will be horse trading between now and the next round of voting on July the 7th, and markets will be scrutinising that. What do you expect to line up? What are you going to be watching for in the next 7 days or so?
Today and tomorrow are going to be the two most intense days of political bargaining and horse trading, because candidates have until tomorrow night to say whether they will run in the runoff on Sunday or not. So that's when you will see whether those candidates who came third actually withdraw to block the national rally or they don't. In any case, you have three potential scenarios on Sunday. One is, of course, absolute majority, and then you have a cohabitation with Jordan Bardella becoming prime minister, having to share power with Emmanuel Macron. Second scenario is a hung parliament that could potentially create gridlock with impossibility of implementing any policies over the next 3 years, potentially a workable scenario for the markets. And of course, there is a third way, which is that the union of the left implodes after the second round, and the far left is sidelined, and Macron somehow manages to form a new fragile majority with those moderate from the left wing and the moderates from the right wing. And obviously that would be the most reassuring scenario for the markets. In order to gain some more voters, Macron actually, ironically, decided to suspend the implementation of his unemployment benefits reform.
OK, so those are the different potential scenarios, different outcomes, as you outlined them for us. What about the potential impact then, longer term, on the French deficit and French debt?
You know, the National Rally has watered down its program a lot to appear more mainstream, more reasonable to the markets. We know, of course, that they want to lower the sales tax on energy, which would cost 12 billion euros. But it is quite unclear when exactly they are planning to implement their other costly measures, such as lowering the retirement age to 62 or increase salaries by 10% by lowering social contributions. The program of the far left, however, is definitely more costly, 78 billion euros according to Bloomberg Economics, with measures including taxing the wealthiest 8% of the population, so potentially a scarier scenario for the markets. In any case, it is bad timing when French deficit was already at 5.5% of GDP last year, and France has been placed already in an excessive deficit procedure by the EU.